Sometimes in FM, you just want to get a transfer over the line quickly. You don't want to have to deal with the negotiations that last months and sometimes then fall through. You want to be able to just get a player in and see results instantly. And that's where players with release clauses come in handy. Today I've picked out some of my favourites that we think represent bargains. Now that doesn't necessarily mean they're all cheap. Some of these are multi-million pound players, but for the price that you pay for the release clause, I think you get a player in return that looks to be a bargain compared to that value. So whilst there are some multi-million pound players in this video, there are also some with release clauses under $1 million. So hopefully there'll be something for everyone. If you do go on to enjoy the video, smash the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and let me know so far with about a week of FM26, who's been your favourite signing that you've made? Have you found anyone with a release clause? If so, let us know down below. But I'm beginning my list with Danilo Dwecky, a Dutch centre-back playing for Union Berlin in the German divisions, who has a valuation of 4.7 mil to 7 million. That is the maximum value, and the reason that is because he has a release clause of £7 million. Now, in my experience, if you try and sign him for less, it won't happen. You'll have to hit that 7 million mark. And do bear in mind that sometimes these valuations will shift as well. So in your save, it might not look exactly like this. The release clause should be at the same value, if not very, very similar. So Danilo Dwecky is a centre-back in the prime of his years that you can get for a release clause deal straight away, providing he accepts the contract you give him for only 7 mil. And for that price, like I say, he's in his prime. He's got 16 strength, 17 jumping reach, 16 heading, 15 leadership, and also 16 determination as a standout. So you know he's a big physical presence, 6'3". He's got that side of his game, but he's also fairly quick, positions himself really well, works hard, can tackle, and also has good ability when the ball is at his feet. He can distribute well and is a very good modern day ball playing centre back. Now I'm managing Man City here, so bear in mind his star rating is 2.5 star, makes him look bad, but he's actually being compared to the likes of Erling Haaland and Rodri, so you can forgive him. But if you're, say, let's take Sunderland for an example, a team in the Premier League doing quite well, if you needed a new centre-back at their club, you could get this guy for 7 million and he'd do a great job. Definitely a Premier League level player, available for a very good fee. And that's the first of 15 release clause players that we're going to go into in today's video. But one quick disclaimer, a lot of you guys will comment for a few of these players saying you can't see them in your save. The reason for that will be when you started up your save, you chose your database size and it might not have been big enough to include some of these players. Don't worry, the majority of these guys will be in pretty much every save, but for the odd one or two, you might need to have a bigger database to find them. So hopefully you'll find them all. If not, that's the reason, because I know I'll get the comments asking about it. But it's not just 27-year-olds that have release clauses, because every player in Spain does, and it means a lot of the best young players in the divisions have release clauses of a lesser value than you might expect. Take this young left-back at Barcelona, Jofre Torrents, who's an 18-year-old fullback with very good ability and huge potential as well. The potential to be a Spanish international in the majority of your saves. He's a fullback that already has great physical attributes in every area, despite only being 18. 6'1", can play a variety of positions, is great with the ball technically, as you'd expect from a Barcelona Academy graduate. But what you will see with this player is if we go to his contract, he has a release clause of 17.25 million, meaning in every save, you can go in with 17 million quid and let yourself a very good left back. Again, not every player is going to be super cheap, but if you're telling me you get one of the best left back wonderkids in the world for 17 million, it's a no-brainer really. I know Bournemouth did well signing Trufer, having sold Kirkej this season, but let's say they didn't have him, you could have gone out and for 18 million quid or so, bought one of the world's next best left backs to your team and instantly could play at a Premier League level with potential to get even better. A La Masia graduate available at a great fee. Again, his valuation here is showing at 13 to 18.5, so you can see with that release clause, you'll get him for less than you might have expected to with the fact that he has that. So keep an eye on him, sign him in your save, and make sure he doesn't sign a new contract at Barcelona. But I promised some players for a lesser fee as well, so let's hit a couple of those, with Jano Monserrate being my next pick, an Atletico Madrid player who's formerly played for Real Zaragoza in his career so far and is now part of the B team or the under-19s at Atletico. Now you can sign him here, you can see 650k to 1.3 mil. The reason his valuation is so low is because that release clause is 675,000. So you can go in for about £500,000 and sign a very good young attacking midfielder who has potential too. Not every player in this video will be young, but he is one of those that you can sign with the hopes that he'll get better. At the end of the day, for me, this is a no-brainer. 600k leaves your account, you get a very good young prospect, so if he doesn't develop, you'll easily sell for 4 or 5 million, and if he does develop, you're looking at a 15-20 million pound attacking midfielder that can be Premier League quality at full growth, so he's definitely one worth keeping an eye on. And another true cheap beast can be found at Colo Colo in the Chilean divisions. His name is Vicente Pizarro, and he has been great in FM for a number of years, a Chilean international 22-year-old who you can sign here now for a release clause fee of only £3 million. He has a model citizen personality, the best in the game, and he likes to dictate the tempo from that deep lying role in the midfield. Where there are some weaknesses in his game, I will say, he's not the quickest, not the strongest, but everything else I think you can be pretty happy with. The mentals are nicely rounded, the technicals too. He's never going to be a goal scorer with only 6 finishing, but in terms of creativity, he's already got that with the vision and the passing, the technique as well. Combine it with the positioning and tackling and marking that he has, and he can be great defensively too. 22 years of age, a championship player in my eyes that could then eventually grow into a Premier League talent. If we use England as that example, and you're after someone in the second tier to control your midfield and get way better than what you're seeing here, then a £3 million deal for him is certainly not a bad idea. Before we see the rest of these players though, I will just do one more quick plug to say that if you do enjoy me and my content and you'd like to see more FM content, then you can check out my channel linked in the description. Over there it's more entertainment based as opposed to informative like we do on FMSCOUT, so it's more about experiments and rebuilds and whatnot, but I think the quality has gone up massively in the last few months, so if you haven't checked it out recently, come and join us for the FM26 journey. We've got some big videos planned, so thanks to anyone that comes on over and checks it out, but let's go and check out the rest of our players in this list. Where I'm now going to move on to the most expensive player in this video, and someone I actually signed in one of my own rebuilds, but I wanted to bring him to your attention for a reason. This is Angelo Stiller, who has a release clause fee of 34 million, and I know a lot of you are going to be looking at that and going, how is that a bargain? Look at his attributes. This is an elite quality midfielder. If I'm Man City, I think he'd be a great signing. If I'm Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal even, to add to their midfield and make it even stronger, I think he's a great option. He's wanted by some big clubs here already. Real Madrid, in fact, are trying to sign him. He's a German international, and he is someone that will go right to the very top. So to get an elite level player for one of these clubs for 30 odd million quid, it's a no-brainer. In my saves, he's gone on to be an 80-90 million pound player in no time. He is so well-rounded, good at literally everything, but is really that man that's going to dictate the tempo from the base of your midfield, 6 foot, strong in everything that he does. No real weakness in his game. In fact, the only attribute below a level of 11, I believe here, are his long throws and his finishing. I mean, you can't really complain about that at all. This left-footed midfielder is an absolute star, and whilst he might cost you 30 million, that is a bargain for what you're going to get in terms of the player that he can become. But if you don't have the budget for that German DM, then why not check out FC Köln's Eric Martel, who is a player that is starting to make a name for himself in the German leagues, formerly of Leipzig. He ended up at FC Köln, was really good last season in the second tier of Germany, I believe, and now, with them being promoted, he is back in the big time, but still, in his contract, has a release clause of 8.75 million. For that fee, you pay it outright, and you get a defensive midfielder that, yes, maybe isn't quite Angelo Stiller's level, but you can see the kind of teams that want him, with Bournemouth and Wolves being interested. We're talking, obviously Wolves aren't doing it in real life, but what you'd expect to be mid-table-ish Premier League teams of high quality are looking at this player, so why not you as well if you can? He's got 16 strength, stamina, and great work rate on top of brilliant determination, tackling and positioning, a real destroyer at the base of midfield who at 6'2" is physically imposing, great in the air, and will win that ball back, and when he does, he's got decent vision, decent passing, good first touch as well to really control the ball and create chances. No traits yet in his games, you can kind of mould him however you want, and at a push you can also play him at centre back, so he's obviously a player that can offer a lot to many a team, and for £8 million or so you get a Premier League quality talent who at 23 can still get better yet and is certainly worth that investment. But now let's take a look at what is actually the oldest player that I've got left in this list to take a look at, with Arnau Martinez, a 22-year-old fullback from Girona, a former FM wonderkid who you can sign here with a release clause fee of £12 million. Now this is a Premier League quality fullback and a future Spanish international in the majority of saves as well, who can play centre-back, right wing-back, left-back at a push, but mainly I think you want him in this fullback slot. Super well-rounded and likes to try and play his way out of trouble according to the traits here. He's good going forward, but also brilliant defensively, with 15 tackling and 14 positioning, can mark his man well, and you can go and sign a player from Girona who's played plenty of football for them for a pretty cheap fee here in my eyes. To get a right back that's going to set you up for the next 10 years for just over 10 million seems to me to be a no-brainer. And you might look at some of these players, I have mentioned this already, and think, well, I could get him for maybe a little bit less. The majority of time, if his valuation is showing at this, it's because the club will only accept that release clause fee. If he didn't have a release clause in his contract, I guarantee you this valuation would instead say 20 million, 25 million. So you are definitely getting a bargain to pay 12 million for this quality of player. I mean, if you want to write back for the future, he could be a great pick. But back to the wonder kids of Barcelona, and we have one I actually saw for the first time playing the other day called Dro. Now, it was in a Champions League match, I believe, and I actually said, who the hell is Dro, when I saw him on my screen, only to find out a little bit later he's a new wonder kid in this FM. Clearly, I need to keep up with Barcelona's football because he is now in their first team, and you can sign him for £17 million, which again, for the player getting here, you might say it's fair valuation, but we're talking about what he can become. At 17 years of age, to be this good with huge potential, he can be a world-class talent in FM, and you can get that instantly for under 17 million. Again, I guarantee you, if he did not have a release clause fee, Barcelona would have a way higher valuation of him here. It's because of that release clause that his valuation is so low, and you can get a creative player with a bunch of flair who can play in that number 10 slot. And I don't know what's going through La Masia's academy at the minute, but this looks to be the next one on the long lineup of great players coming out. But we're going to leave Spain for a minute to actually head to Russia, where we're going to take a look at Sergei Pinyeyev of Lokomotiv Moscow. This is a player you can sign for a release clause of 8.75 million, and for that price, you net a very good left-wing wonder kid who can also play on the right and has been a wonder kid for a few years in FM. Huge potential and great ability from the off. He's got great acceleration and ability to get round a man with dribbling and first touch levels, combined with his technique and his passing. He can score, he can cross, he can shoot, he can play either side, but being right-footed and liking to cut inside in the way that he plays, I think you want him on the left as an inside forward or potentially an inverted winger. And wide forward could also work too, I suppose, but it's up to you what you want to go with. But either way, he's got great acceleration, which is brilliant in this year's game, and to sign a player that's got another 10 years in his career yet before he declines for only £8 million or so is certainly worth it. You get a wonder kid with huge potential and great ability straight away. But all our final players are actually playing their football in Spain. And up next, I have Espanyol's fullback, Omar El Hilali. Now, he's a Moroccan international that is wanted in this save by Spurs, so they obviously want him to compete with Pedro Porro, which tells you the level this kid is at only 21, can play centre-back, right-back, or right-wing-back, all at a good level with great ability in many an area, and you can go and sign him for 13 million. So just a bit more than Arnau Martinez. If either one of them gets snatched up, go for the other one. You get a young centre-back with 10 years left in the tank, who's going to get better and already has really well-rounded attributes. He is very much defensively minded with 14 tackling, 14 positioning and 14 marking, but he also can go forward at a push as well with 12 passing and 12 crossing, so don't worry about that. Can hit a long throw as well, so if Mikel Arteta or Reggie Labrie is watching it at the minute, he could be a great pick for them. But there you go, if you want another fullback, head to Espanyol in Spain and sign Omar El Hilali. But let's go from an over 10 million player to an under 1 million player. As we take a look at Asia Bonel, who plays for Osasuna's youth team by the looks of it here, who you can go and sign for a release clause fee of 875k, which is actually less than his actual in-game valuation as well. That shows you that he's even more of a bargain here than normal, as this striker might be a bit weak physically at the minute, but will get there in time. He's only 17, so he's got a lot of room to grow. But when it comes to some key attributes, dribbling, finishing, first touch and heading, he probably doesn't need to get better at a lot of those to be considered good. In fact, there are elite level attributes near enough in some of those areas if he can add one or two to each one, which he will do by the time he's 20 or 21. Once again, this is one of them. He doesn't need to turn into a superstar, because even if he doesn't, when you sign him, you'll be able to sell him on for more. So Asia Bonel is my next pick and a great option for under £1 million. For our next two players though, it's FC Andorra players all known from Girona. The first one is Antal Jakobishvili. I feel like I've actually done a pretty good job of that pronunciation, but he is a Hungarian centre-back that you can go and sign for a release clause of 4.3 million from his parent club in Girona. Obviously, for that price, you get a 20-year-old defender that is going to get better. He isn't capped at what he looks like right now, being only 20, but at 6'4", he's tall, he's strong, and he's good on the ball. It's exactly what you'd want from a modern-day defender, and for that price, you are getting a Premier League-level ability centre-back who can get way better yet. I would say low-level Premier League, maybe high-level Championship, but at full growth, you're talking about a mid-table Premier League player that you can pick up here for only a few £1 million. And the same goes for Min-Soo Kim, who is a Girona player on loan at Andorra who can play anywhere alongside that front three of that midfield area, and you can sign him for 4.3 million. So you can get the both of them for under 10 and you get players for the future. This is a South Korean youngster who has the potential to get way better yet, but already at 19 has great ability in a number of areas. Nearly either-footed, he's really good with his left, but it is right where he is strongest, and his traits suggest the kind of player that he is. He's got the flair to beat a man. He likes to run with the ball, with the acceleration, the pace, the dribbling ability that he has, the technique. He's going to go round a man, get a cross in, get a shot off, play a pass through, whatever you want from him. He could be a great pickup for only 4 mil. But with 2 players to go now, this is the last time I'll ask you, if you have enjoyed the video, to smash the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. But let's see my final 2 picks. Where next I have a young forward that could go right to the very top in Samed Bazdar, another one that's been around FM for a few years. The Bosnian striker you can go and sign for 16 million quid, which seems like a lot of money and is more than his valuation here. So you might be able to get him cheaper in this particular save, but as mentioned, in some saves his valuation will be higher. That can fluctuate from save to save. But either way, you get a physical prospect who's good in every area, no weakness in his game, and that's the kind of player that in FM will do really well. Your Erling Haaland types that have no weakness. They're not slow, they're not bad in the air, they're not weak, they can do all 3. Combine that with good technical ability and mental ability as well. If I was a championship team looking for a new striker, or a low-level Premier League team looking for one for the future, I'd be checking out Bazdar, because he can go right to the top and become one of the world's strongest forwards. But my final pick is another bargaining option as we check out Jorge Salinas, who is a Spanish defender that you can sign for 3.5 million, who can play left back or centre back from Racing the Santander's under 19 side. He's a player with very good physical attributes for only an 18-year-old, good at literally everything. There is no weakness in his game there. And whilst technically there are some flaws, he's definitely more defensive minded, and that's why I prefer him in that centre back despite only being 5'11". He's left footed, which is obviously harder to come by in that centre back role. He's got nice positioning, marking, tackling and work rate. He's one of those where if you've got the time to bed him in for 3 million, he's not a bad deal. If you want to maybe bring him into your academy and sell him on later on for a profit, you are guaranteed that. I don't see any world that you sell him for less than 3 million. So he's definitely worth taking a look at, and he is my last release clause bargain. If you want to see more of these, there's a big list that I'll link in the description below on the FM Scout website with player values, their release clauses and the ability that we've given them. I've picked some of my favourites here. Let me know your favourites in FM so far down below, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.